Thank you so much for being here. My name is Mario Rogo. I own RIP Media Group. We're a development and production company in Hollywood, California. We make movies and we do a lot of commercials, a tremendous amount of commercials at this point, and we're always pitching. So I thought the most useful thing that I could deliver to you today is how to pitch virtually, how to pitch in person, and some of the best points that we've used over the years to get our concepts across. We've created 3 feature films and 1,200 commercials. I was going to say almost 2,000 commercials when you look at some of the cut downs and different alternate versions and so forth, but 1,200 commercials. And I want you to know that it all comes from the pitch. It all comes from you and your personal take on things. So I thought I'd share that with you today. So the power of your pitch. First part, act one, is why you're critical. Second is who are you? And how do you find your story? And I have a little bit of bonus features at the end for us to talk about as well. So I'd like to ask a question, and that is, can you think of a favorite movie that you have, or a favorite promo spot or commercial? And then who has a favorite PowerPoint presentation? Probably nobody. You don't remember them. So I'm going to do my best to keep this entertaining, moving along crisp, moving along well in an understandable way so that you can get a lot of information out of this and the time is really well spent for you. So real quick on who am I? Who's this guy that you're looking at right now? So I had a whole career in business development. And I switched out of that. I moved into Hollywood, started from scratch 15 years ago. And I said, I just want to do something new. I want to create something new. I created companies and we sold a couple as well before I got here. And I said, I'm going to do something a little bit different, because you can't pick and choose the people that you're going to work with. But when you're making a film or you're in a creative agency, you are creating with your client, or with the producers, the partnerships. So you really got to be with them for months and years. So I chose to go OGP. That means I only want to work with good people, only good people. That was my thought. And I want to make cool things with nice people. So I love nice people who make cool things. And that was the origin for this. Within a couple of years of being out here, I actually was a kind of a consultant with the producer of The Dark Knight, the Batman franchise, and got to read all kinds of scripts, learned a tremendous amount from him, and it was amazing. And I created 2 of my own movies and some others as well. But these are the 2 that made their rounds through the theaters back about 10, 12 years ago. And then I switched over and I started selling to and working with clients like these. So some of the largest companies in North America, and we create their commercial content, promo content, digital content. So we do a lot of pitching on our ideas. And I thought that would be of value to you. So how do you rate value? So I'd like you to think for a moment about a brand. It could be a movie, it could be a production company, but it could also be a product. It could be the phone in your hand, it could be the Samsung, it could be the clothes on your back. Maybe there's something that you have there, and think about how that brand has value. Just thinking about that name. So what I like to say is your brand will live or die based on your story. So those brands are going to live or die based on their story, the story that they're telling to their target audience. And this converts because everybody wants to be part of a great story. So when you're taking your movie, your script, your development package, and you're pitching it, you want to make sure that you're bringing across your brand in the strongest way. Whoever you are, your unique background matters. What's your unique take on this story, how you're involved, and why it matters to the world? Because now we have moved into a story economy. If you look at the different social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., they even literally have stories at the top now so that people can follow along. So this is really becoming endemic across all the earth right now, as far as storytellers like you. So what's the thing that we all want? Well, we all want an experience. But to get that idea across, I have the notes down here, you need to disrupt their day, and meaning you need to come across in a different way than anybody else. The next person that walks in that room to pitch, or the next person to fire up a virtual Google or Zoom session, If they're the same as the next person, they're not going to stand out. So you need to disrupt in a different way and stand out from the crowd. People want meaningful stories. And when I looked through the film festival, I saw some really powerful, impactful films that are being made right now, that are being shown now, and then in years past as well. And they've got to be memorable as well. But the movie won't go anywhere, won't be sold, or won't even be funded unless you have these elements in place. So it's got to be part of your pitch. And we all know creating meaningful story is easy. Said nobody ever. It's very difficult to do what you do. It's very difficult for both sides of the arrangement. So you have, from the creative, you have the story, you have the development, you have, obviously production, but then you have to get distribution to get the money back so that you can make money in films and do more and have even more impact out there. So creating a great story that transcends across all those elements is very difficult. So I'm going to do what I can to help you today. So real quick, let's focus in on the pitch. So what's a story? A story is a sequence of events that changes a character's life. And the only goal, the main goal, is to get people watching or listening to ask, what happens next? What happens next? If you have people on the edge of their seats in your pitch and they're asking, I want to know what happens next. What happens to that character? What happens at the end? Where do we follow that character? You've got them. They're interested. They want to know more. And the really interesting thing is our minds, the amygdala, can't determine if we're really infused in a story, we're really invested in a story, whether it's real or it's pretend. So it's science. Now, what I put together is the rules of a great pitch, as I know them, as I can deliver best to you. So the first, you've got to know your audience. You cannot be all things to all people. You're going to have a certain particular kind of story, a certain particular kind of pitch, a certain type of genre, right? It can be comedy, it's going to be drama, it's going to be a thriller, it's going to be action. You've got to make sure you're talking to the right production company, the right development house, the right people that are funding in that particular area. And it's always good to come in there, if you come in with one, to have one or two more in your back pocket. Like, oh, that's interesting. Tell us more. What else are you working on? Is a common question in a good pitch. What else are you working on? I've had many friends go out and pitch, and this has happened to us literally hundreds of times. Well, what else are you working on? Tell us about that. And all of a sudden, the other thing that we're working on or developing is the thing that becomes top of mind in the conversation. And that becomes the story that we move forward with. That becomes the script that we roll forward with and write and produce. So know your audience, but have a backup plan. But know your audience. If they're going in and they make comedies, you might not want to come in with your drama. And you want to disrupt, like I said before. So you've got to come in there with something different, something new. And that might be you personally. Your personal story really matters. You might have something that's very impactful that happened in your life, or that you've created, or you've changed for somebody else's life in a wonderful way. Make sure you talk about that. Don't be shy about or hide behind some of your accomplishments. When you're in a pitch, you got one chance, and that might be just a few minutes or half an hour to really stand out. So make sure that you disrupt and do things differently than anybody else. This is an interesting one, very much in the business world, but you've got to make sure that what we say is sell the hole, not the drill. And that means sell the result. Look at the result. Look down the road. What are they, the people on the other side of the call? What are you getting out of this? What can you learn from this? What can you get? Is it a great investment in the film? Is it a great distribution? Is it easy because you have a built-in audience already that follows you? Get to the result. Don't necessarily talk about the production or the how or some of the technical aspects. Talk about the result. Give them a vision for the future. Give them a vision for your project. The next rule, number 4, is you always want to focus on the experience, right? If you're focusing on, small stories, it better be about the experience that that character has, the change that they go through. And you can also talk about the audience's experience of these characters that you've written, that you've drawn, that you're going to create and bring to life. So it's all about the experience. It's not technical details and, how, this comes about. It comes about because this is going to happen next. So the more passion you can show about the experience that you're delivering, the better your pitch, the better your presentation will be. This is an interesting one. Raise the stakes. I always feel that if somebody's talking to me or we're pitching a project, if you are not able to make this extremely important, be very passionate about it. If it's not very important to you, it's not going to be very important to the people on the other side. Nobody wants to get involved with a film that's going to take, 6 months to 5 years from funding to distribution with people that are just okay about a project. This has got to be something that is extremely important, not just to you, but to them and to the world. The stakes have to be high. Now, the pitch itself, that little goldfish right there on screen, has an attention span of 7 seconds. Our attention spans are now down to 5. That goldfish has a longer attention span than we do. So do what you can to keep each point as short and simple and short as and shareable as possible. So keep it short and shareable. So keep the message short. And so give them a point that they can carry on, remember, and then share with whoever it is that they're going to be pitching to and talking to next. 7, maintain the mystery. So what's really nice about having a pitch that the story, you have the script, is there's some mystery in there and you don't have to tell the entire story. If you're doing, for example, if you're going to do either an animatic or rip-o-matic or a trailer for your film, put something out there that's visual or it's a storyboard sample, you don't have to put the ending in there. You don't have to tell people how it ends. Leave some mystery so that the person at the other end asks, well, what happens next, right? What's the mystery there? Leave mystery. Don't put everything on the table the entire time, because then when you leave, like, okay, that was a good package. That was great, but we know everything. Okay, I'll think about it. If you leave something that they don't know, people will be thinking, I've got to meet with that person again because I want to ask about this. What can we do here? Maybe they have a suggestion or an idea that you'll be open to. And this is great. Everybody, and I think this is clear. I've seen this a lot with the films that I saw on the website and so forth, but everybody worldwide loves an underdog. This is an old movie called Rocky. This is Sylvester Stallone. And then Creed was the sequel to those more recently. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Everybody, these folks are all underdogs because we are all underdogs. We all feel, even the person at the other side of the room that you might be getting funding from, that you're looking to, they, at some point in their life, felt like an underdog. So your character might be an underdog, but you might be an underdog as well. And everybody likes to help the underdog. So it's okay if it's your first film. It's okay if you had a rocky road to get there. In fact, it's great if you did, because people want to help out more if you can acknowledge that, own it, and say, I'm doing my best. And this is the best story I've come across. Now, number 9, interesting. I put a couple of visuals here. Keep it relatable. So on the left, is that a face, or is that somebody making breakfast, frying a couple eggs, and do you have coffee over here on the right? So as much as you talk about yourself. If I tell you a story about the last time for example, the last time I saw my mother, the last time I saw my mom, you might start thinking about the last time you saw your mom and what that interaction was like. So keep it relatable. Your personal stories are very similar, very, very much in tune with the other person that's on that call, on that Zoom, or in the room. So make sure that you're relatable. You're not so all important, or you're totally out of touch. The other thing is conflict is interesting. We all know that in our stories, but you can remember that in the pitch package as well, that the more struggles there are, right? Drama sells. People want to see that. We have that in our own lives. We want to experience that through other people's eyes and see how they resolve the drama too. So out of those 10 rules, I have a question. Just I'd love to know if you want to email me or get in touch. Which of those rules of story or rules of pitching spoke to you? Was there anything new there? Did anything solidify even more than it has before? We're going to keep moving. There is something that I found through studying this, studying pitches, studying sales, studying what projects get through the pipeline, what projects are picked up and sold more, and right into the scripts, which scenes work the best. And I've narrowed this down to what I call the stuff, STUFF. The stuff are the 5 most important emotions, the most important emotions that you want to elicit from your audience that keeps them most interested. These are the same things in the advertising world. These are buying emotions. People want, they feel this, they're more interested in buying. If it's a pitch or you're presenting your film, people want to feel these things. So the first, sizzle. Is it sizzled? Is it sexy? Is it different? Is it technology rich? Is there something new and really amazing about it visually? That's the sizzle. That's the S. T is touching. Touching. Is there a new life? Is there a new family? Is there something new that's happening in our main character's life or sideline characters' lives that we would be touched by? Third is unique. Is it inspiring? Is it grabbing? Is it different in some way? If it's completely different in your pitch, people really, you're not just like anybody else that walked in the door. We talked about how you need to be unique and different from anybody else because you are unique. You're 1 in 7 billion right now looking at this. You're 1 in 7 billion. You have a unique take on things, and people want to learn about that. The other is funny. Funny comedy is fantastic. If you're able to bring across humor, if you are a funny person or you're able to be funny, it's the best. It's very memorable. Movies are, few and far between that are really funny, but when they hit and the pitch hits, it really works. And the last is fear. Fear can be, for the investor, it can be fear of missing out on this great opportunity. It could be actual fear, which is infused in a lot of the films I see in the culture there. But fear is great. So it's, again, I'm going to go back up to the top. The acronym I use is the stuff: sizzle or sexy, touching, unique, funny, and fear. Every scene in your movie should have it in different ways. You can mix them up, of course. You don't just have all drama. You can have a little bit of humor. You actually need it to balance it out. We want to be on the edges of our seats, but we need a little bit of a relief to be able to refocus back into your movie. So mix these throughout your scripts, mix these throughout your pitches as well. So I have a little bit of a bonus section. So thinking about when you're out pitching, and I'd like you to think about your movie and what you're saying a little bit differently now. So the first is just a quick piece of practice. Can you pitch your movie in 5 words? You can think of this as the tagline or the log line or on your movie poster, your one sheet. Think about this. What movie is this? It's an older movie, but 12 terrorists versus 1 cop. If you can think about it, that was Die Hard with Bruce Willis. Now, that worked well. So what about this one? Die Hard on a Bus. Die Hard on a Bus. That was Speed, Keanu Reeves' first movie back in the 90s, long before he was John Wick, long before The Matrix. So what can you do to make your pitch even better than it is right now? Just a real quick log line. It's your turn. You know everything about your film. There's a couple things that you should know. One is you should have the hero, an action, and a result. If possible, at least 2 of those 3 things, right? The hero, the action, and the result. 12 terrorists, 1 cop. What's going to happen, right? So just a little bit of a mix there. Give it a try. I'll start the timer, and we'll see what you guys come up with. Just realized this is a recording, so it's okay. You can skip past that. So let's go to the second thing. The second thing is, I talk to a lot of people when they're going in for their pitch and they're talking to folks, they're on a Zoom, they say they're nervous or they're anxious. Now, there's something that's truly physical here. What's happening? What happens physically to you when you're nervous? You breathe a little bit faster, your heart beats, you feel a little hotter, you might sweat. That's nervous. What happens when you're excited? You breathe a little faster, your heart beats faster, you might actually sweat a little bit. It's the exact same thing in our bodies that's happening. But what the difference is what you're telling yourself. So if you tell yourself, I'm nervous, I'm anxious, and you start thinking about all the bad things, what if they don't like my movie? What if they don't like my pitch? What if this? It's all that what if stuff. You got to get rid of it. The people on the other side want this to be good. They want it to work. They're looking for material. They're looking for things to fund. They want to be part of something that's great, a great story. So if you tell yourself, I am so excited, I am so excited. I'm breathing heavy. I'm sweating. My heart's beating faster because I'm excited about this. You brighten up, you lighten up. I try it the next time that you go for a pitch. If there's anybody watching this that is nervous or tells themselves they're nervous, you're really excited. And remind yourself that you're excited so that you can get your amazing story across and out for the world to see. Now, I'm going to give a link here to some downloads, and I have a Power of Story packet so that you can help with your pitch. I have the stuff in there and some other things that will help you kind of draw out how to do a better pitch when you're out there trying to make your piece of magic in your important story. For me, I have a children's book, and then I have the Rise of the Entrepreneur book. And of course, we're at Media Group. We're making commercials and helping brands grow all the time. Would love to help you and keep in touch. But I do want to leave you with this quote from an amazing artist and poet. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. So let's get those stories out there that you're making, that you want to make, to the world. And I hope I was helpful to you today. Thank you very much for having me.